Today, we're going to really focus our conversation more on where most of you are who are joining. Your businesses have already succeeded in early phases, but now you're looking to get that business to the next level of growth, or for an entirely new goal where you're starting to think about what the future of your business looks like. Perhaps turning the business over to your family, or to sell it at a high multiple of EBITDA, where you can fund your retirement and travel the world based on all the work that you've invested in your business over time. Now, a lot of the people that come to us as FocalPoint coaches, they have goals for higher revenue, but they're also wrestling with the idea that they want, especially later in life, to live a healthier life, and they want to spend more time with their family. They feel stressed about making trade-offs about whether to work extra hours or to go out and do things that they want, like golfing or serving their community, or certainly spending time with their spouse or their grandkids. And a lot of times our clients have this gnawing fear in the back of their head that disaster is just around the corner. So our initial discovery call, I often hear phrases like, my business revenues have plateaued. I'm working harder than ever, but I'm not making as much as I was in the past. I want to work less, but not without my revenue dropping off. Have any of you guys ever experienced that? What are some of the common issues that you deal with scaling your business? Please throw them in the chat and Mark will share them as we go along. Now, one of my favorite Brian Tracy quotes is that stress is just an unmade decision. In our FocalPoint journey, we explore common stagnation and decision points, and we evaluate what the best and worst outcomes might be. And with that understanding, we go ahead and we create the plans that we allocate your time and your resources to getting the very best outcome. And with that plan in place, your stress levels decrease. You can breathe a little bit easier because you've done your best to think through what could go wrong. And therefore you're ready to do your best. And that's all we can ever hope to do. Now, before I get into the main part of today's talk, I want to just introduce this idea of business life cycles. This graph, this S curve, was popularized by a UCLA professor called Yitzhak Adidas. And it basically says that all businesses and products have a predictable life cycle. And by knowing those predictable life cycle, you can align your activities to get the greatest possible outcome, to get the results that you want. So the three main phases are the learning phase, and that's characterized, as you might expect, by inefficiencies and lots of hands-on work as you validate what your product or your service is going to be. You bring it to market the first couple times. Maybe things don't always go perfectly. You make mistakes. But after a while, you start coming up with a repeatable success pattern of who the right customer is, what the right solution is, what your customers really value. And then you're ready to grow. And by growth, you're focusing on effectiveness and efficiency, where the business scales through automation and elimination of unnecessary tasks and building the right team and the right culture. But eventually a business, or at least a product, enters the decline phase, where the competition is targeting you because you're the successful one, and they find a way to be maybe 5% more effective, or they're willing to operate at a lower price margin. So as a result, your sales start declining. Now, on this S curve, there are 5 common traps, or 6 opportunities for growth, or for taking your business to the next level. I'll touch on them briefly. So in the learning phase, the honeymoon trap is really common. In the tech world that I came from, you would often get a lot of initial sales, but it would take a year to implement those solutions for clients. And during that time frame, things would change and some of those clients would abandon you. And the challenge would be is that the company would run out of energy because they wouldn't have the renewals that they would need to fund the business later in its growth. A related phase towards the bottom of that first curve is where a business owner doesn't quite get to that repeatable sale, doesn't quite find a product that customers want to repeatedly buy or refer to others. And that's the 3 feet from gold phase. And what's sad about that is a lot of times new entrepreneurs buy that business and turn it into a very big success. The next trap is the founder's trap. And that's where you've got your repeatable sale and you're starting to get referrals. And it's the main topic of today's presentation. It's where the owner doesn't start ruthlessly eliminating tasks that don't need to be done, or not automating tasks that don't need to be done by people, or delegating to the right people, the right tasks, so that the owner can focus on higher value activities that will take you to a new level of growth. And that's actually a good transition point to just mention that at the top of the growth for a curve, it is possible to anticipate where decline is coming and to come up with a new strategy. It could be serving a new market, finding new customers for the same product. It could be innovating and coming up with a new product. A great example of that was when Apple's growth started to just level out a little bit. They took the iPod technology and turned it into a phone, which generated a legendary new growth for one of the world's biggest companies now. I think you get the idea. So the key idea is that with these curves, by knowing where you're at in the curve, you can allocate your time and your money and your resources and focus on the right level of activities to get the right results.